The sun was slipping behind the skyline, casting long shadows across the polished marble steps of the luxurious Grand Orion Hotel, a place where the rich arrived in silence and left in headlines. Chauffeured cars lined the entrance like obedient soldiers, and uniformed doormen greeted every guest with rehearsed smiles. But just a few feet away, on the other side of the golden barrier ropes, sat a thin, barefoot boy with torn clothes and eyes that had seen too much for his age. His name was Elijah. People passed him every day without noticing, except to avoid him. Some looked away in discomfort. Others whispered, most simply pretended he wasn't there, but Elijah watched everything. Because surviving on the streets had taught him one thing: attention could mean the difference between life and death. That evening, a black luxury car pulled up to the entrance. Cameras suddenly flashed as whispers rippled through the crowd. "That's him, that's Mr. Victor Langford, the billionaire." Elijah had heard that name before. Victor Langford, the tech magnate, the philanthropist, the man who built an empire from nothing. He stepped out of the car in a tailored suit, tall and composed, his presence commanding instant respect. He barely looked around as he walked toward the entrance, followed by his assistant carrying a silver thermos and a leather briefcase. Elijah's eyes locked onto the thermos. Something about it made his stomach twist. A memory hit him like a lightning strike: his mother, coughing violently after drinking from a bottle that someone had tampered with, her last words warning him to always trust his instincts. Elijah stood up suddenly. His heart pounded, his breath shortened. Every instinct inside him screamed danger. And then it happened. As Victor Langford reached for the thermos and lifted it toward his lips, Elijah shouted with everything he had, "Stop, it's poison." The entire scene froze. Conversations died. The clicking of cameras stopped. The billionaire's hand hovered inches from his mouth. Slowly, Victor turned his head toward the source of the voice. His eyes landed on Elijah, the homeless boy shaking but standing his ground. The security guards immediately rushed forward, grabbing Elijah roughly. "You think this is funny, kid?" one of them snapped. "Wait," Victor said calmly, lowering the thermos. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried authority. "Let him speak." Elijah struggled to breathe. "I saw the man, the one who handed that thermos to your assistant. He switched it when nobody was looking. I know what poisoned liquid smells like. I know what it looks like." Murmurs spread through the crowd. The assistant looked confused, then nervous. Victor's expression hardened. He handed the thermos to one of his guards. "Test it, now." Within minutes, the results came back. The liquid inside contained a highly toxic substance, colorless, odorless, deadly within minutes. A gasp rippled through everyone present. The billionaire slowly turned back toward Elijah, who was now trembling, unsure whether he had just saved a life or sealed his own fate. Victor walked toward him, every step deliberate. The guards released Elijah. For a long moment, the billionaire just looked at the boy, really looked at him. Not as a nuisance, not as a problem, but as a human being. "You saved my life," Victor said quietly. Elijah shook his head. "I just didn't want you to die like my mama." Something changed in Victor's eyes at that moment, something deeper than gratitude. "What's your name?" "Elijah." Victor nodded. "Elijah, from this moment on, you're under my protection." The crowd erupted into whispers again, cameras flashing, reporters already dialing their stations. But Victor didn't care, because for the first time in years, something had shaken him. Something had reached past his wealth, past his power, and touched something human inside him. And he had no idea that this boy was about to uncover a truth that would destroy everything he thought he knew about his empire. Victor Langford didn't believe in coincidences. Not after building a billion-dollar empire in a world where trust was currency and betrayal was common. That night, Elijah was given clean clothes, a warm meal, and a private room in the penthouse suite. But Elijah barely touched the food. He sat quietly, observing everything, the way children of the street learned to do. Victor entered the room slowly, dismissing the staff. Elijah, I need you to tell me everything you saw, every detail. Elijah nodded. The man who gave your assistant the thermos, he wore a silver ring with a red stone. I've seen him before near the food trucks where leftover meals get thrown out. He talked to some men about finishing the deal tonight. Victor's jaw tightened. A silver ring with a red stone. There was only one man in his inner circle who wore something like that, Gerald Kane, his most trusted business partner for over 15 years. The same man who had helped him rise. The same man who knew all his secrets. The same man who would inherit control of the company if anything happened to him. Victor felt the room spin slightly. Are you sure? Elijah nodded again. I never forget faces. That man looked at me like I didn't matter, but I remember him. Victor turned away, trying to steady himself. Betrayal was one thing, but attempted murder by someone he called brother. Within hours, Victor's private security team located Gerald Kane. He was attempting to board a private jet out of the country. In his luggage, they found documents, illegal transfers, hidden accounts, and plans to take over Langford Industries after Victor's death. When confronted, Gerald didn't deny it. He laughed. You were getting old, Victor, weak. I built that empire with you. I deserved it. Victor stared at him with a coldness he had never shown before. You built it with me, but you chose to destroy it alone. Gerald was arrested that night. The news exploded across every channel. Homeless boy saves billionaire from assassination attempt. But that wasn't the story that mattered most. The real story was what Victor learned next. During the investigation, it was revealed that the toxic chemical used in the thermos had been illegally tested years ago in a pharmaceutical trial that targeted low-income neighborhoods. One of the victims of those early tests was Elijah's mother. Victor's own company had unknowingly funded the subsidiary responsible. When Victor saw the files, his hands trembled. No, this can't be. Elijah stood quietly beside him. My mama used to say, rich people don't see us, but we see them. Those words broke something inside Victor Langford. For the first time in his life, he saw the human cost behind corporate decisions, behind profits, behind silence. He dropped to his knees in front of Elijah, a billionaire kneeling before a homeless child. I am so sorry, Victor whispered. I didn't know, but that doesn't excuse anything. Elijah didn't speak. He just watched. Victor stood up slowly, his voice now filled with purpose. From today forward, everything changes. Over the next months, Victor Langford shut down the corrupt division, compensated every affected family, and turned his company into one of the most transparent and ethical corporations in the world. But the biggest change was Elijah. Victor didn't just give him a home. He gave him a future. The boy who once slept on cold pavement was now attending one of the best schools in the country, his intelligence shining, his confidence growing every day. And at every public event, every interview, every speech, Victor told the same story. The day a homeless boy saved my life was the day he also saved my soul. Years later, Elijah stood on a stage, graduating at the top of his class. Victor sitting in the front row with tears in his eyes. Because sometimes heroes don't wear suits. Sometimes they wear torn clothes, stand barefoot in the street, and shout the truth when no one else dares to. And sometimes all it takes is one voice to stop poison before it spreads. Back, hand index pointing right, hit like thumbs up back. Hand index pointing right, subscribe to the channel, back, hand index pointing right, turn on the bell.